everybody. This is Pathways of Bro.Todd. You're actually catching the second edition where we started in John chapter 13, about verse 12 or so. We got down to verse 27, and old Steve, the cameraman, done to me what he's been doing. This is old Steve. Now, Steve is being formally retired, so I hope you'll tell him that you hope he'll have good travels. I probably ought to throw him in the trash can, but Brother John may get something off of him, so we'll let him retire and give him a gold watch. He served me all through the COVID-19, so it's hard for me to just throw him in no trash can. But anyhow, so we're back. Hopefully, Steve's replacement, Bob, I gave him the name Bob. We're going to see how well Bob works. Now, Bob's a little lazy getting going here, and he's sitting a little crooked right now, so he may just get bona fide and replaced with Steve Jr. So anyway, where we were is in the middle of verse 27. We were talking about, and hopefully you catch this one. We sent out that video, this Pathways. I'm going to put these out two at the same time, and take them, forward them, all that stuff I talked about back in about verse 13, 12. So if you want to know what's going on here, you need to get back and catch the one where I started here at John chapter 13, 12. We talked about it there a good bit. We get down to verse 27. It says, now during the Last Supper, and after Jesus talks about who's going to betray him, and he gives the bread to Judas. It says that Satan himself entered him. We were talking about how Judas was literally possessed, demonically possessed by Satan himself, which is something that, like I was saying in the other videos, about the time everything cut off, is I don't think for 1 second that you and I have ever dealt with specific temptation straight from Satan, from Lucifer. He is not omniscient. He is not omnipresent, all-knowing and all-present like God is. But he may be getting word about this pretty quick through his legion of fallen angels. Now, he is trying to get Jesus' seat. Okay, I think you're probably only going to see Satan, as it were, interact directly, probably within like the beast and the false prophet, the Antichrist and the false prophet. Judas, probably some different times in history, but you see now Judas has left himself open, and he is about to be turned over. I was probably about to talk about Pharaoh when old Steve quit on me a while ago. You think about Pharaoh during the time of Moses. At first, he was being obstinate, and being obstinate, God stepped in. And when God began to use him as a vessel of dishonor, and God hardened his heart, then his time of choosing was over. God is faithful to give us a time of choosing, but recognize this, he's always God. And if the time comes where, as it says in Genesis, the Spirit of God will not always strive with man, do not think for one moment that if you will not be the Lord's friend, that he will not treat you like a foe. I tell this all the time in preaching and in sermons, and you better get this down. There is no friend like Jesus, and there is no enemy like Jesus. People say, well, I like the God of the New Testament more than the God of the Old Testament. That is all hogwash. It is the same Lord. What you see in the New Testament is Christ coming, washing the disciples' feet, wanting to be their minister, wanting to be their servant, wanting to be our Savior. But he is God. He is the God of the ages, and there is none like him. Okay? He is great in defense. He is horrible in battle. Terrible. There's nothing that stands before him. Recognize, if you've read the Bible, the same Jesus that you say you keep trying to hang on his cross, and he's left the cross, and he's not going back to the cross, is the same Lord that comes back riding a white war charger and with a word destroys his enemies that are people at the Battle of Armageddon. Do not line up against the Lord. He is great in all of his ways. Wonderful to be praised, merciful, long-suffering. But let me tell you something, baby. He is holy, he is just, and one day he's going to square this up. I've said on this thing before, and I'll say it again. I love having a God that will bring people in grace to heaven. That is my only vehicle for heaven. But I'm telling you right now, if he won't judge sin, I want no part in him. He is willing to judge sin in himself on the cross, or he is willing to judge sin everlastingly in a place called hell. You say, preacher, I just don't believe in hell. I'm going to turn you off. I'm going to tell you this right now. You hadn't seen the women I've seen abused. You hadn't seen the people I've seen raped. You hadn't saw the children I've seen thrown against the walls and beat against the walls and have their heads bashed in and things like that. I'm telling you right now, all the child predators that I've dealt with and against and all things down through the years, the horrible oppression I've seen in this world, people literally being systematically starved while there is rice in a warehouse being sent by good people, being controlled with their thumb on top of them, being oppressed in this world. I'm telling you right now, if God doesn't rectify that, then he's not the God he says he is. He is willing to judge sin in himself, or he's willing to judge sin on the sinner. Period. Do not find yourself being used as a vessel of wrath. God will put a delusion in your brain where you'll think you're doing the right thing, and he will use you, twist you, use every breath of your life to accomplish his will and show forth his glory on the children of mercy and the children of light, and he will show his wrath against sin on the children of darkness. Do not trifle with him. Do not mistake his long suffering for his acceptance. Do not. One day, this country is either going to get revived or it's going to get ruined. The children that cry out from the abortion mills is going to cry out against this day. If Sodom and Gomorrah were judged for what they've judged, Jesus said if Sodom and Gomorrah had saw the things that we've seen in this New Testament age, they would have repented in sackcloth and ashes. Don't think it. Don't play with him. I love the Lord. I love to run up to the Lord. I love to boldly approach the throne of grace, but you better recognize it's a throne. God uses people every day to accomplish his will. Every day. Do not line yourself against him. You say, preacher, I think you've lost your mind. We'll see. Won't we? We'll see. I love the Lord, and I'm glad I'm on his side. You watch one day. God will square this up. In fact, he not only will square it up in judgment, he squares it up in people all the time. I've seen him take the minds out of people that are working against him. I've seen him take breath from their life. I've seen God move them, change them, twist them. You don't let all things go. He's moving everything according to his will and his way. Again, don't mistake his long suffering for his acceptance. So anyway, through preaching at you a little bit there, hope that you follow the Lord. Anyway, for those of us that do, let's see what he did. He says, no one at the table knew what reason he said this to him, because it says here that Jesus said to him, what you do quickly. So he says, what you going to do quickly. Satan, Jesus, of course, knew what he was going to do. Satan was going to take every chance he could to keep Christ from fulfilling what Christ was out to do. Now, he knew the only way to do that was put pressure on him, because that's what gets us as people. It's pressure. It's like one guy said in a movie one time. He said, I've always known what was the right thing to do, but I didn't always do it because it was and he used a profanity, too hard. We all know what we want to do, but it's too hard. I'll give you an example. I've been, I don't know now, almost 2 years. I had about 2 years ago, 2.5 now, I had a bad case of what's called rhabdomyolysis. And I just call it rhabdo for short. It's a breakdown of muscle enzymes. And it can just completely block up your kidneys and give you compartment syndrome in your extremities. Typically athletes will get it. Every now and then you'll hear of a college athlete that because they exert so much force. Well, in my case, it wasn't as much force and exercise as my age, and I had changed leg workouts and kind of shifting to more of a muscle building type deal. So anyway, it's pathetic for what I did to get as hurt as I did, but it locked me up pretty bad. And it set me back, and then I got sick, and it set me back. Then COVID come along, and then go to the gym, and then I got the diabetes, and just stack up, trying to get back in the gym. Well, I know what it takes to get strong. I know what it takes to lose weight. I don't want to do it because it's too hard. I've been back trying to work out. You ought to see the pathetic amount of weight I'm moving. Anyway, so I find myself missing a lot more now. Why? It's just too hard. It's just too hard. And I don't know how I got on all that, but anyway. So what he told him what he's going to do, he said do quickly. So I'm just thinking about just erasing that whole thing. Anyway, y'all remember what I was talking about. So here you see Satan bound under Christ's command. You see Jesus always commanding the demons around, and they always do what he says. Satan, what he was going to do was he's pressure, making things hard, is what will keep us from doing the right thing. I know what it takes to get strong. I want to do it because it's too hard. Well, Satan knew that the only way he was going to destroy what God was doing in the world, having not been able to get Christ off his throne, he's going to try to keep from the throne those that Christ loves. And his only way to do that was do it in his humanity. He knew as long as he had Jesus as a human, there was the weakness of Adam in him, so to speak. He was never going to take him out as God. He tried that. Jesus didn't even raise a finger. He just sent Michael, the archangel, to handle it. But when he had him there in that position, he at least had a chance. Now, I don't think in reality he never had a chance. Christ wasn't going to be beat by anything. But everything God said about saving us and doing had to be proven in time, or else it's just empty promises. And so you see here Satan is wanting to get Jesus under pressure. And if you want to really put people under pressure, you get them fighting for their life, and you get them in pain. And so that's where he's running to. Now, as soon as he can't do nothing till Jesus tells him he can, he tells him go do it quickly. And you see, if you read, no one at the table knew what he said. Some thought, or why he said this. Some thought because Judas had the money box. Jesus said, "Go buy the things we need against the feast," or that he should give something to the poor. They didn't know what he was talking to Judas about. Having received a piece of bread, he went out immediately, and it was night. And here you see the devil doing what Jesus told him to do immediately, because that's when Jesus said, "What you're going to do, go do quickly." And that's what he goes and does. Now, he's working against God, but he's doing exactly how God told him to do it. Ain't it something the devil will follow Jesus better than I will? Ain't that terrible? Makes you sick to your stomach, don't it? I was talking about church on Sunday. When the Bible says the heart is desperately wicked above all things, that's what it means, all things. Our heart is as wicked as the devil's. Don't think it ain't. When we're not saved. So he says, when he'd gone out, so now Jesus is talking to the 11. And this is about to start a very long discourse, leading into the Mount Olivet discourse. That's going to happen right up till Jesus is betrayed. It says, so we went out. What time is it? So when he went out, when he'd gone out, Jesus said, now the Son of Man is glorified. And God is glorified in him. And there he's talking about the Father. And if God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself and glorify him immediately. If the Father is glorified, he's going to glorify the Son. Little children, I shall be with you a little while longer. You will seek me, as I said to the Jews, where I'm going, you cannot come. Now I say to you. So I'm about to walk into death, you can't come with me. Jesus had made that statement to the Jews, right? That's where they said, are you going to kill yourself? What's he talking about? Where I'm going, you can't come. So now I say to you. And he says this, a new commandment. You ought to underline that. A new commandment. It's going to sound a little bit like an old one. But look at it. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Amen. We've seen that in the Bible. But look at what he says. As I have loved you. As I have loved you, that you also love one another. He said, this is a new commandment, that you love each other like I've loved you. And that's the new part of it. By this, all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. And that's why, here's a big reason, why the world, and maybe if you're watching this and you're a skeptic, and I'll give you this, I appreciate somebody's mentally, intellectually honest enough, rather, to consider stuff that he doesn't follow and believe in right now, to look at it. So if that's you, one of the number one turnoffs in the world towards Christ is Christians. They do not see in the people that say they follow Jesus the things of Jesus. And so they don't think it's transferable from Christ to people. I've mentioned like Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi talked about the problem with contending against Christianity, being a devout Hindu like he was that the problem that he had with Christianity is of being able to dismiss it is there's a problem there, because what do you do with the Christ of Christianity? Because everything he says is dead on, right? You can have no sense and recognize that. But he had a problem with the expression of Christ in what's Christianity. So much of oppression was done in the name of Christ. Much oppression was done by Christian empire and that kind of thing. And so he had a problem seeing the transferability of the power of Christ living in Christians. One of the number one reasons why you see so much temptation for there to be problems in the church is twofold. Probably more than that. I'm just kind of, y'all catch me when I'm doing these things thinking out loud. But you've got the twofold problem of, if Satan's group can keep us contending with each other, we don't have an outlook. When a church is having problems, a church doesn't look outside, it looks inside. In fact, if a church is having struggles, people don't even invite people to church. Because why? Because they're locked into this internal thing, right? And so they don't reach out. If anytime that happens in a family, we've had different issues here at the church, different years, this and that. Somebody has a failure, moral failure, something like that. And for a while, especially if it's a leader, you're consumed with that, and then you have to deal with it and go on. And we tend to take it in stride around here. I know people are going to do stuff. We don't make big deals of stuff, try to help people. We just try to keep moving forward, follow the kingdom. But so you got that. The other thing is that when we're contending with one another, we don't show that we're disciples, and we don't show. If you'll let me use the word. I'm trying to think through. I don't think I've ever used this word like this. The transferability of the power and love of Christ into his disciples. And so if people say it doesn't work in the people that's been following Jesus for let's say 5 years, why would it work in me? So what does Jesus say? He said, you love each other like I've loved you, and people are going to know you're my disciples because of the love you have. Christianity is actually a pretty simple thing. It's loving God and loving each other. Jesus said if you love God above all things, and you love your neighbors yourself, you have the whole Word of God. You got a grasp on it, okay? So this is what he's telling them to do. So verse 36, I'm going to try to get you at least to verse 14. Lord, I've been talking forever. The other one was 28 minutes long. This is almost 20. So Simon Peter said to him, Lord, where are you going? And Jesus answered him, where I'm going, you cannot follow me now, but you shall follow me afterward. And boy, if old Peter just shut his mouth. But Peter, if he did anything, he was impetuous, and he would speak. And we tend, as Baptist evangelicals generally, we tend to make too little of Peter, because the Catholics come along and tried to call him first pope and all this kind of stuff. And we don't want to, we're so reactionary in our theology. There's two people don't get enough credit out of evangelicals. One's Mary, another's Peter. And just because one group makes too much of them don't mean we shouldn't make something of them. And Peter's listed first every time. And I think if he wasn't he's one of the greatest Christians that ever lived. And So he said, you can't come now, but you're going to follow me after I go where I'm going. And he should have said, But he says, Lord, why can I not follow you now? Because he wanted to be with Jesus. And he said, I'll lay down my life for you, for your sake. Boy, that's big talk, ain't it? We sing in the church. You know, I grew up singing those songs, where you lead, I'll follow. Though none go with me, I'll take my cross, I'll follow you. We sing the song, we're running after you. We talk about what we're going to do, and when we run into so many failures, because we don't recognize what the cost is going to be. My old computer's over here doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Let me just turn all these people off. Oh, what's happening? That face I make, that right there, my granddaddy used to do that. I look at that screen, I see that, I think, oh my Lord, going back in time. That's something, how you pick up something like that. So, where are we at? I got my little Bible here. Peter said, Lord, why can't I follow you now? Why didn't he just do what Jesus said? He loved Jesus. He wanted to be with Jesus. Sometimes God tells us stuff, leads us places we don't understand at the time, but we've got to let him be God. He knows what he's doing. I'm preaching to myself now. Jesus answered him, will you lay down your life for my sake? Question mark. Look at the next two words. There they are. Most assuredly. Truly, truly. Verily, verily, I say to you, the rooster shall not crow till you've denied me 3 times. You see it there. That's a neat study to do, how many times that rooster actually crow. You see, it looks like probably from the synoptic writers, God may have given him a little warning from the rooster. If you ever get to go to Israel and go to Caiaphas' house, there where I was talking about in the other video, you go up these steps. One of the neat things about being there is, you know this, they drug Jesus up them steps and they drug him down them steps. When you put your feet on them most Jerusalem limestone steps, you put yourself right where Christ was. I mean, that's one of the places in Israel, he was right there. When you go, in fact, I don't have it on. I seldom wear it, but I wear it if I dress up. If you ever see me with a ring on my right hand, I got a big ring, it's like a gold ring, and in it is a weird-looking stone. And it doesn't look like it's something you'd set in a ring, but that's a piece of Jerusalem limestone from those steps. I was down there one year, and I was down there at the bottom of them steps, and every time I go, I like to go to the bottom of them steps and I pray. I want to pray there. And I always think about Jesus going up them steps for me and coming down them steps for me. Well, I was down there praying, and there's a crack. They're old, it's a crack. You can look, you find your picture on the internet. Look up Caiaphas' house, steps to Caiaphas' house. You'll see it online. There's pictures of it. Anyway, down there's a gravel and different stuff. Up in the crack, I opened my eyes and I looked up in that crack, and up in there was a rock. I could tell it was different than other ones. And I reached up in there and grabbed it. Well, it was a piece of that limestone. And it wasn't gravel. It would match those. I sailed it right up there. One side's flush because it used to be up on the front of one of them steps where they chiseled it. Well, I put that thing in my pocket. He said, Brother Todd, should you have took it? Well, if I'd left it there, somebody else would just put it in their pocket. Y'all don't get on to me. I put that thing in my pocket. I brought it home. I had it, and Misty and the kids had it set in a ring for me. And every now and then you'll see me with it on. Especially like if you see me dressed up sometime, I'll wear it. And it's from them steps. I take that thing a lot of times when I travel on missionary trips. And I take it, and it's kind of big. And I turn it so that when I shake somebody's hand, it pinches me. And I think about them steps. And I think about the reason I'm here is to tell them what Jesus went up and down them steps for, and that's the only reason I'm on the other side of the planet. You get to travel as a pastor or something, don't ever think yourself a big shot. It's just Jesus trying to expand you so that you can help others. And I thank God for the travels I've got to have. I don't travel as much now as I used to. I try to send more, rather than spend the money on going, I try to give it to people as missionaries that's there. But anyway, so You ever get to that house, they got a recording of a rooster crowing every now and again. It just crows, because that's where Peter was at, out in the courtyard when they were trying on Jesus, and he was denying him. So anyway, until you've denied me 3 times. Well, let's see. I guess that's a good place to stop. We're going to start back up with chapter 14. Lord willing, next week or later this week. And I hope this time's a blessing to you. I hope getting to read the Bible together helps you in some way. Again, they tell me to do this all the time. I keep forgetting it. And besides that, it just kind of saying this. I don't want you, I don't believe in self-promotion. But but share these things, like them, send them to people. When y'all send one of these things to somebody, they tell me, like if you send one on Facebook, they tell me that the likelihood that they will, half of the people you send something to will watch it all the way through, from start to finish. At least half of them. They'll watch it a little bit, but they'll watch it all the way through if you send them to them. 50% of them will watch it all the way through. And there's nothing like. If somebody tells me, hey, that's a good movie, I'm gonna have to go watch it. So anyhow, send them around. I'm gonna be putting out Victory Minute probably tomorrow, or I may go make one here in a little while. But I hope you're enjoying these pathways, and share the word with somebody. Remember, God don't give you anything just to hold it in you. He wants to give it to you so that you can give it to others. Well, love y'all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.